My name is Lauren Boucher, and I am the Southeast Regional Consultant for Digital Teaching and Learning. Stacy, I'm sure, has put the link into the chat, but you also have the link for today's presentation up at the top of the screen. go.ncdpi.gov/AI workflows. If you haven't already, please tell us where you are and what you do in the chat. And while you do that, we're going to keep moving. So over the next hour, we're going to talk about what a workflow actually is. Some people call it a system, some people call it a workflow. What workflows might teachers have, on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly, etc. And then how we can use AI to help us not only develop our workflows, but in completing different tasks. And hopefully we'll have time at the end for some Q&A. So just a real quick definition of what a system or a workflow is a series of organized steps or processes designed to achieve a specific goal efficiently and consistently. I know many of you looking at the participant list, and so I know that those of you who know me know that I'm a very detail-oriented person, so I live my life by systems and workflows. Everything has a process, everything has step-by-step, and so AI has allowed me to take those to the next level. So I have very early on began creating workflows with AI for myself. And so I really feel that, we have all these really cool tools. We've played with all of these really cool tools. So now, what is the next step? Where do we take it now? And so, in my personal opinion, we take it to making it work for us. So really being strategic and helping us find times in our day where we can take back some of those hours. Time is finite. If you ask a teacher what they wish they had more of, right after money, it's typically time. So hopefully with what we'll share today, you'll get back some of that time. So I have a couple of sample workflows for you here, very simplified, but just to give you an idea of what a workflow or system might be. So for lesson planning, the first thing that we're always going to want to do as an educator is you always start with your standards. And so starting with your standards, if we take the time to completely unpack them, that makes everything else that comes after in that system much more easy. So once we have identified our standards, we've completely unpacked them, we know them front and back, then we can create our assessments. I am a firm believer that backwards design is the way to go. Beginning with the end in mind, we have to have that destination, that end point in sight so that we know what steps we need to take along the way to get there. So we've unpacked our standards. We're going to create all of our assessments, formative and summative. We should always be pre-assessing our students. So using what we've unpacked to create a pre-assessment, which is also your post-assessment, because we want that one-to-one correlation to see how our students have grown based on the instruction and the practice that we have provided to them. So once we have our assessments created, then we're going to schedule our lessons either in a calendar form or a learning management system, whatever process works best for you. The great thing about workflows is that you own yours, so you make it work for you. Next would be planning student activities and assignments, and then selecting and creating your instructional materials and your resources. And then it's time to just do it. So that's a possible lesson planning workflow. Another workflow that we might look at creating is for grading student work and providing feedback. So here, I probably should, there's a pre number one, which is the same thing as lesson planning, identifying your standards and and unpacking those. So once you've unpacked those, we can create the success criteria and the rubrics that we're going to use throughout the process of teaching and learning this topic or unit. Then we're going to assign and collect our student work, grade those assignments using those success criteria and the rubrics that we created in step number one. And from there, getting into providing personalized feedback and beginning what is called a feedback loop. Alice Keeler and Jennifer Gonzalez with Cult of Pedagogy have both done several articles on the value of feedback loops. And it essentially is exactly what it sounds like. A student turns in work, you provide personalized feedback and next steps, give it back to the student, and they take that feedback and they remix their work, they make it better and turn it back in. And you as the teacher and the student decide how long that feedback loop continues. So after we have, done our feedback loops back and forth, then we determine at what point our students have or have not mastered that success criteria. And at that point, we can record our grades in the grade book or a learning management system to then pass that back to our SIS, which you're either Power School or Infinite Campus. Next year, everybody will be Infinite Campus. So I want to get some feedback from you all. And let's see if I've got double screens up here. Let's see if I can access the chat. So what I would like for, where did my presentation go? There it is. All right, so what I would love for you to do in the chat is to share some ideas of possible workflows that a teacher might have. And so think about, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis, what might be some workflows that would really, really benefit a teacher to develop to steal some time back. And I'm going to come out of, hopefully. Yes. All right. So you can either unmute or share in the chat some sample workflows, and let's brainstorm some workflows. I already did lesson planning. So what might be another one? I know some of the people in here are not shy. Communication. All right. Perfect. Ah. Anybody else got any other ideas? Do we know where people, do they have the ability to chat? Oh, yes. Grant is brainstorming. Data analysis. Thank you, Jerry. How do you spell that word? Analysis. Grant's on dial-up. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully, the ones that I'm getting ready to share with you will inspire some more ideas for you. And feel free to put those into the chat. Oh, thank you, Grant. Classroom management. All right, so let's go back to presenter view. Collecting various forms. Yes, Stacy, that's a good one too. All right, so the next several slides that I have, we're going to go into detail with maybe not a whole workflow. Again, workflows are super personal. So you are going to have to develop your own. And if you work with other teachers and you coach, you're definitely going to, want to coach teachers through developing their own workflows. So these are just kind of broad strokes, but I've provided the different AI tools that might assist not only in creating the workflow, but then moving through that process to save some time. So using AI as an assistant with lesson and unit planning, this is we're really going to take advantage of AI's ability to create detailed plans, um, generate creative and engaging activity ideas, being very explicit and clear with our learning objectives, and then helping us create assessments. So again, we should always start with our standards. And so I do want to show you a preview. This is something that I have been working on for some teacher friends. And it opened up way over here. So let's actually, Stacy, are you seeing that? I think I have to
We
switch
don't
one.
see this. We don't see that yet. We still see your presentation.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to switch what I am sharing. All right, now are we looking at an unpacked standard?
Yep, we sure are.
Perfect. Okay. So what I have done is I have used a resource that I have found. It's a book called Deconstructing Depth of Knowledge. And so I have been partnering with ChatGPT to not only unpack standards for the skills and the concepts, but really, really diving deep into the standards by identifying depth of knowledge by task. So, what are the students being asked to do? What skill is being required of the students to do it? And then how are they being required to show their learning? And that gives us those three things help us identify the DOK level. And so from there, what I've done is again partnered with AI to talk about, well, how are students going to transfer their learning? What will students understand? What are they going to be skilled at? What are they going to have to know? What are the learning intentions? And then translating those into I can statements. Um, ChatGPT is the one that I use. We then talk about the essential questions, and I'm however you say that word, Stacy. Sorry, I'm gonna try not to. And again, because I love backwards design and I feel that it is such a powerful way to plan, I go ahead and create the evaluation information. So what is the knowledge and understanding that students are being required to know with this standard? And then what are the applications and skills? So kind of going back to the nouns and the verbs, and then helping me generate performance tasks, and then some on-level DOK activities, and then some below level. And we want those on-level DOK activities because our standards are aligned to the end of grade state testing or the end of course state testing. So if we unpack it and discover that it's a DOK level 2, the cognitive demand on those summative assessments is only going to be at a level DOK 2. So we always want to go beyond, but if we can get our students to hit what's known as that DOK ceiling and master the tasks and the skills and the response up to that DOK level, they're going to be prepared for their testing. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to go back to my Canva presentation. All right, Stacy, are we back to where we should be?
Yes, it looks great. We see your
Perfect.
presentation.
All right, thank you. All right, so the tools that I use to go through that process is ChatGPT. There are, or any chatbot, whatever your favorite one is. Some people like Perplexity, some people like Claude. Magic School AI actually has a standards unpacker. It is not going to unpack as comprehensively as the document that I just showed you. However, you can, if you have the paid version of Magic School, you can ask those follow-up questions and get that information. If not, you can just copy and paste what it gives you that first round and put it into your favorite chat bot and continue the conversation there to completely unpack that standard. Goblin Tools is another tool that you can use to help unpack your standards. They have different tools. One of them is taking something and then breaking it into smaller pieces. And so I have used that. It's not amazing, but it is better than nothing. All right, so then the next step will be creating assessments, your formative and summative. Again, ChatGPT, Magic School, EduAid, Copilot, what's the other one? School AI, all of those. And I refer to Magic School, EduAid, and School AI as kind of like the big three. Those are our most popular, I feel like, AI teacher suites of tools. So those are invaluable if you haven't checked those out. Brisk Teaching is another one that can help you with creating your assessments. It allows you to take any web page and create some questions around what is on there. Conmingo, and then a new tool that I learned about, Jungle, allows you to create assessments as well. I'm not going to read all of these slides, but you can see the main players for lesson and unit planning are going to be your chat bots, the big three, Magic School, AI, and EduAid and School AI. What I tried to do here as well is, rather than give the specific tools, a lot of these, if you just click within the platform on the category like planning and questions and Magic School, EduAid has, or excuse me, School AI has the tools versus the assistants. And those teacher assistants are very, very powerful. They've been trained on specific educational topics that you can ask any questions to. I love Canva as well for lesson and unit planning. There are tons of calendar templates. There are tons of lesson plan templates in there that you can use. And it'll, even with the Magic Write, will help you generate some ideas and things like that. So I'm going to check the chat. Are there any questions or comments, suggestions for other tools that we might want to consider when we are developing a workflow for lesson planning or unit planning? I see Grant is typing. Stacy and Vera, are our guests allowed to unmute? Do we know? Yes, quizzes is another one, Grant. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes,
That
Lauren,
is,
they should be allowed to enter the chat, unmute, everything.
okay, perfect. Thank
We
you.
just don't want to talk. That's all it is.
They're all burned out from the day.
I get it. I get it. We got 2 more days to go, people. We got to hang strong. All right. Well, if you have, as I'm going along, I do not get upset if you interrupt. So if you have something to share, I'm a firm believer that, the smartest person in the room is the room. So if I've missed a tool or an idea, please put it into the chat or unmute. All right, moving on. Admin tasks. All of the things that might not necessarily have anything to do with teaching students, but we have to do it. So things like writing emails and creating newsletters, writing recommendation letters for students. I know a lot of high school teachers have to do this, creating subplans and then record keeping. So again, ChatGTP and these chatbots can pretty much help with any of those. Um, Magic School AI has a ton of tools for writing emails. They've got the text rewriter. There's a whole section called professional. They have a professional email. They have an email family tool. Eduade, the same way. They have a professional section and a duties section that provide generators for each one of these. Let's see, Adobe Express and Canva are going to be my go-tos for creating newsletters, just because there are so many templates in there that are already completed where you basically just plug and play your content, your words, which you can generate using one of the other tools, like a chatbot or Magic School, again, saving hours of time. I know, again, super detail oriented person. I also live in the elementary world, so everything needs to be like color coordinated and we had to have just the right clip art. And so tools like Canva and Adobe Express that will do all of that design work for me save me so much time. Recommendations, Eduade and School AI, as well as Magic School AI, all have a recommendation generator. So you basically just plug in what you would like to say about the person that you are recommending, and it'll write it for you. Subplans. I know that sometimes it's easier to come to school sick than it is to write subplans and miss a day. Um, I don't know. My school required us to have emergency subplans. I don't know if that's a thing that's widespread, but if you don't have an emergency subplan folder, I probably would do one of those. Eduade has a substitute planner tool. Magic School and School AI, you would use the lesson generators, but I like the substitute planner because it gives even more, it goes deeper into providing the instructions. Canva, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this or not, but Canva has full lessons that are aligned to standards, ready to go. You don't have to do anything but put them into a folder. So Canva makes sub planning and even lesson planning for yourself super easy. And then next, record keeping. Google Sheets and ChatGPT, I have become a tad bit obsessed with app scripting the back of Google Sheets, and I'm going to show you one that I've done. But that allows you to create these completely customized spreadsheets that will pull from different forms that you've created. I know Stacy had mentioned in the chat about, you know, keeping up with forms. We can script all of that. Magic School and Eduade and School AI all have tools for behavior intervention plans, IEPs, 504s, all of that stuff that you may need help organizing or even coming up with specific goals, and keeping track of that data as you move along. All of these tools are available for you. Again, please don't reinvent the wheel. Use what's already there. I do want to say, and I have not thrown this caveat in here yet, but you know, when we're using AI, what we get out the first time is just our starting point, right? We need to ensure that we are proofreading, that we are asking the AI clarifying questions and really drilling down and having a conversation to get what we want out of the AI assistant, the AI tool. All right. Differentiation. This is a skill that I don't know about you, but I was never taught in my teacher prep program. It was just something that I was told as a teacher to do. And so AI assistants can really, really help us with, in seconds, modifying lessons to meet our students' diverse needs. And that includes, putting in accommodations and scaffolding. All of those big three, Magic School, School AI, and EduAid, have differentiation tools. There is a website called Diffit, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. You do eventually hit a paywall with Diffit, but what I really love is the fact that this is one of the few tools that doesn't make you do a full year's subscription. You can do month by month. And I believe it's like $15 a month. So if you buckle down and do, all of your like broad stroke planning and know your topics, you can within a month or two get all of your differentiated content that you need and then cancel that subscription. So I do appreciate that about Diffit. Although I believe all educational tools should be free for teachers. That's just me. I did struggle finding some AI tools that would really help with creating flexible grouping. Um, Notebook LM would be one that I think could work. Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong. But if we, took out all of our students' personally identifying information, so no student names, no student IDs, just make up a random string of numbers and assign it to a student, we can then put that data into Notebook LM and ask it questions. And through those questions, we can begin to develop our flexible groups. Another tool would be going back to those Google Sheets and app scripting. So once again, I'm going to have to stop sharing my screen so that you can see this example that I have created. All right, stop sharing. I hope I'm not making anybody dizzy. My apologies. All right, are we looking at a spreadsheet? Maybe?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Okay, perfect. All right, so this is a progress monitoring tracker that I developed for second grade. So this is based on those standards that I unpacked with ChatGPT. So I have all the success criteria right here. What I can do and what I have scripted it. So let's see. I know we have Jerry. Oh, I'm gonna have to make a copy of this. Yes. If you make a copy of this, if it's something that you're interested in using, the first time that you use this, you will have to give it permission. But we're going to come in and we're going to add, let's see, I know Grant's here. I know Jerry is here. I know Stacy is here. Who else is in here? Let's see. Let me get one more name. Oh my goodness. Where's all my people? Too many screens. Amanda. All right. Amanda. All right. So then let's say that I give a group work assignment. Then we're going to do an independent practice. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can choose to put in the date or not. Then what I tell it is, for each one of these activities, what was the highest number of questions per criteria? So let's say that the group work was measuring 2.1 and 2.2 parts 1 and 2. And each one of these has 3 questions that measure the understanding of that. So I'm going to hit 3 here. You'll see why that's important. in just a minute. All right, so up at the top, we're going to click Progress Monitoring Tracking menu. We're going to run this. Once you have all your students in here, we're going to run the setup. And if this works like it's supposed to, I can come back in here and edit this or add. I don't have to put in all my data at one time. I can do this as we go throughout a unit. All right. Let's see. Now that I have given it permission, it's going to run the script. And so you'll see down at the bottom what it does is it begins to create a sheet for each one of my students, as well as a class overview. And then what it's going to allow me to do is, and it should pull in the activity name here, but I will be able to then, I need to be patient. So every student is going to get one. I probably should not have done so many names. But what I'll do as the teacher is I'll come in and look at, okay, on this group work assignment, Grant got, come back. Grant got the first question correct, the first question correct, the second question correct, but the third question incorrect. And so it's going to color code as I input data. And then it's also collecting that individual data up top. The class overview, once all the sheets have been created and all my data has been put in, I come back to my progress monitoring tracker and I update my data. Once I've updated my data, all of that class overview information is going to be available, and then I can generate tables and very quickly look at a visual of the data, which will then help me form my groups. So, and all this is blank because I don't have information for everybody. So that is one way that scripting the back of your sheet can allow you to create these customizable templates. Now, it took me a long time to create this because I had to learn, you know, the correct prompts to use and things like that. But now it's become addictive and I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can make that for you. Just let me code a spreadsheet. So this has become a very large part of my workflows. Admittedly, takes a little bit of time to set up, but then I can use this for years and years and years. And all I have to do is make a new copy of it. All right, bring back Canva.
I just want to pause for a quick second. Yanawi has her hand or his hand raised. I want to make sure there's not a question.
Okay.
I had just had my hand raised from earlier. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. I'm not able to comment in the chat, but with what you're sharing right now, I have left scripts too. Being able to use it for setting up a dismissal system instead of having to like purchase one of the ones that's out there. And then also scripts for kind of automating some documentation from forms that teachers were getting, like if they're like the support staff and getting requests for student support, and it would kind of like automate this Google Doc based off of what was coming through the form to the sheet. But it was a lot to set up at the beginning, but then it was really useful because it's, like you said, something they can use for years. So that was something I wanted to share. And then also just a couple more tools that I think could fall in any of these. Padlet, they have their magic AI that can do a lot for some of these things, especially like the differentiating. And then, Diffit, that's what I was going to say. With Diffit, I don't know if you knew that it's free for first year teachers.
Ooh, I did not. But
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that either.
Yeah,
That is
so
awesome.
I wish I could share the chat and the link, but I don't have the ability to. But I've been putting stuff in the Q&A. I don't know if you can all see that. I do have access to Q&A.
Okay, yes, I
Yes,
do see that.
Okay.
My email is going to be at the end of the presentation. If you're willing to share your spreadsheets and your scripting with us, that would be amazing.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so a few other honorable mentions when it comes to differentiation, obviously the big three and chatbots. We've mentioned Brisk. Brisk, again, allows you to take any website and make it interactive and ask questions and that kind of thing. Special note, if you are an EduGuardian, and I'll add that information to the end of the presentation, but if you join the EduGuardian PLC, you get a year's pro subscription to Brisk for free through that. So I'll add that information to the end of the presentation. TWE is another tool that's available. It is strictly for English language arts, but it does allow you to develop scaffolded and differentiated assignments. And then Teacher's Buddy was a new one to me, but it has a whole section called neurodiversity that allows you to differentiate by type of neurodivergency, which I thought, or diversity, which was, I thought, very, very interesting and very useful. We've mentioned quizzes. Conquer is another one. Conquer is really cool. It will allow you to create quizzes and then export them directly to a Google form, which then allows you to, do all that fun stuff with the data. Magic School will allow you to do that as well if you have the pro account. Question Well is another one that will help you to regularly assess your students. CurryPod has my heart. I love CurryPod. This will allow you to not only regularly assess your students, but like many of these tools, it will give automatic feedback for you that is AI generated. And right now, CurryPod is running a promotion that everybody has access to the whole platform for free through November 9th. So anything that you create in CurryPod between now and November 9th, even if it is a paid feature, as long as you create a lesson with it, you get to keep that in your lesson library and use it even after November 9th. So again, between now and November 9th, like I would just be making all the stuff and have it in my library so that I can access it once it all goes paid again. And then providing feedback, again, the big three, you can copy and paste in student work and it'll provide feedback for you. Quizzes, Conquer, and CurryPod, you don't have to copy and paste anything in. The students are inputting the information and they're getting instant feedback that way. So to kind of extend this from differentiation into the grading and the feedback piece, talking about developing success criteria. Well, I did all of that right at the beginning when I was unpacking. I knew that I would need success criteria and learning intentions. So whatever you're going to need, unpack it all right to begin with. The big three, again, Magic School, School AI, and EduAid all have tools that will, you just feed it your standard and it will give you the success criteria for you. Chatbots, any of those will do it as well. And then CurryPod, what it does is you put in your standards and it creates a lesson or an activity for you. And before you present that lesson, before you click present, it gives you a bunch of teacher information, and success criteria and learning intentions are part of that. We've already talked about regularly assessing. Some extra tools that I didn't really feel like fit so much with differentiation would be Groovelit, that is strictly for writing. Conmingo probably could go with differentiation as well. That's another kind of teacher tool suite, but it aligns with Khan Academy's videos and things like that. Personalized feedback is huge. That is one of John Hattie's highest instructional strategy or strategies for student growth and mastery. So using rubrics is probably one of the easiest ways to provide personalized feedback. I need to make this note in here, but if you've never heard of or used a 1-point rubric, those are my favorite. It really helps you as the educator focus in on what exactly you're measuring and what exactly that assignment, what the purpose of that assignment is for, which relates directly back to defining our success criteria. So it just kind of keeps us in our lane. So that's the 1-point rubric. All of the big three, chatbots, all of those can generate rubrics for you. CurryPod will generate that personalized feedback for you. So they have created several new, they call them customizable lessons that are all around writing. And they're super fun and very highly engaging for students, very relevant for students. And so the students will, write within that lesson and then get immediate feedback, and their writing is graded by the AI on a rubric as well. You can always script a Google Sheet with putting your success criteria in there and using drop-down menus and then adding comments. Caden is an essay grader that students can load in their own writing and get feedback. Magic School Student. If you have not explored Magic School Student, I think when they opened it up back in the spring, there were like 6 tools. There's like close to 50 now. So Magic School is constantly adding new features for teachers and students, and there are several different student tools that will provide instant feedback for your students. And then Teacher's Buddy has a tool called Analyze Sentiment. So what you can do is either you put in student work and it will provide not only feedback, but next steps, like what could you do to improve? And then I know I've already talked about feedback loops, but some tools that I think could be explicitly used for that back and forth between teacher and student, which, by the way, can you imagine the relationship building potential when you are taking the time to engage in a feedback loop with your students? That shows your students that you truly do value learning over, here's a grade and we're moving on. So Magic School Student is a great one for feedback loops. School AI Spaces actually does the feedback loop for you. So you have all the data and you can see 100% of the communication back and forth between the student and an AI chatbot, but they're getting the feedback from AI. No Red Ink has a feedback feature. I do believe they tout themselves as being an AI detector or a checker, which we know is a no-no. We should never ever use those because they're not good. But it does have a feedback loop feature. And then Canva, if you have not looked at, it's not a learning management system, but you can assign templates and assign lessons to your students right within Canva. The students can submit right within Canva, and then you can provide feedback, and you can return work as many times back and forth as you need to until you're ready to accept a final copy or a final draft. And at that point in time, the student loses edit access to it, you provide a grade and move on. And then Brisk Teaching, again, will allow you to have those conversations with your students. This was mentioned in the chat earlier, so data analysis and feedback. Again, wanted to remind you, never ever put student information into AI. But as an AI assistant, we can use AI to help us create assessments and analyze the data. So I'm trying to look at, there's any ones that we have not mentioned before. Your learning management systems are great for collecting data into one place. I know Stacy again had mentioned forms in the chat. And when we're using one-off forms, you know, our Google Drive just could get completely out of control. Google Sheets and formulas, app scripting, all of that fun stuff will help us organize, as well as Notebook LM. So Notebook LM, I talked about that a little bit earlier. That's where you load in sources, and then you can ask questions about those sources. So you can ask questions about, Stacy, again, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, what would be the best way to organize this data, or who did great, who did bad, you know, those types of questions.
Yeah, I
Stacey,
think that you're right that AIs are so good at analyzing trends. I mean, I know we're leery of them doing math and calculations. They're, you know, that's hard for AIs to do, but helping with looking for commonalities or trends in information, you know, really, really good for that.
awesome, thank you.
Mm.
So analyzing the data, AI does it in seconds. Like, this is another one of those places where using AI as an assistant is going to give you back so much time. So some new tools that haven't been mentioned yet: Tableau Public, and I probably just gave Vera like nightmares. But Tableau is a platform that allows you to load in your data, and then you can create dashboards and all kinds of visuals. I'm a very visual person, so that helps you analyze your data very quickly. Google Looker Studio is another tool that can help you analyze your data. And then Magic School AI has a tool called Data Table Analysis. And the first time I played with this, what it does is it'll create sample sets of data for you. So if you're working with your students and you needed, you know, some data on grocery prices or gas prices, you know, across the world, it'll generate that for you. But you can also upload your own spreadsheet and then and ask it questions. So you could use the data analysis table for that as well. And then finally, what is the point in collecting all this data? Well, the point is so that we can then use it to inform instruction, differentiation, personalization, all that fun stuff. So in Magic School AI specifically, some tools that help you, or some categories of tools that will help you make data informed instructional decisions. And these are all listed across the mid-level top of your screen when you're in Magic School AI. Those are the categories of conceptual, understanding, and then the tool. Excuse me, these are individual tools. I was thinking about something else. So in Magic School AI, there's a tool called conceptual understanding and a tool called common misunderstandings. So combining what we're seeing in our data with these two pieces of information about our specific standards can help us make informed decisions moving forward. School AI's assistants, again, those are all chatbots that are built on a different aspect of teaching and learning. So we can really have focused conversations with AI to help us take our data and then make it usable and use it. EduAid has a taxonomy tool that will help you kind of scaffold. So if you need help taking that standard and taking your data and figuring out how to scaffold it for your students moving forward, EduAid has a tool for that called taxonomy and scaffolding. So what I have done, and if you click here, I've created hopefully you'll find it a handy dandy template to help you kind of think through the development of your own personal workflows. Again, these are really based on your personal style and how your brain thinks. So what you can do is just identify my workflow for, and so is this going to be a workflow for data analysis or lesson planning? And then what is the purpose? Is it to save time? Is whatever your purpose may be, make it concrete and explicit here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to think about that workflow and think about all of the pieces and parts, all the tasks that you're going to have to perform in order to get from the beginning of the workflow to the end. And again, Goblin Tools is really, really great for that. They have a tool called, let's see if I can find it. I had it up here. I guess I closed it out. So the Magic To Do tool. So in Goblin Tools, Magic To Do, you just give it a task and it'll break it down for you. So obviously you're going to want to double check that, make sure there's nothing that you specifically need to add in or take out. And then once you've identified your main tasks, then it's time to break it down. So what steps are involved in completing task 1? What steps are involved in completing task 2? Then organize them. What comes first? What comes second? What comes third? What tools may help me? And we just went over a ton of them. What tools may help me in task number 1? And is there a way to automate it? Is there a way for me to be hands off? Or how can I be as hands off as possible in this process? Because that's where we're going to get our time back. And then finally, what is your timeline or your schedule? So is there a specific day of the week and or time of the day where it works best for you to complete this task? AI chatbots are another really, really great tool to use in helping you think that process through. Like I will put in my weekly schedule and ask it to find the time. Hey, I need 15 minutes 2 times a day to do some exercise or to do some stretches. I need 10 minutes once a day to do XYZ, and it'll give me all of it. It reads my schedule and gives it all to me. So that's really great. And then just like everything, you're going to find places that you need to tweak and things that may need to be reordered. So obviously we're going to test our workflow. We're going to document it here on your template. Once you've been through a whole system, reflect on it, iterate, and then repeat. So I hope that becomes a valuable tool for you, just kind of thinking through the process of creating your own workflows. And then, like I said, if you need help, Goblin Tools is a perfect workflow development partner, and clicking on the little speech bubbles here, that will take you to Goblin Tools. And I'm going to stop talking and see if there are any questions, any comments about anything that we talked about. Was there a tool that you know of that I did not mention that you think would fit into any kind of workflow that a teacher might have? And while we're answering questions, there is a link here for feedback for today. And when you complete that feedback, you will get a certificate of attendance sent to you. So Stacy, were there any questions that came through, or feel free to add questions?
Everything. We were busy chatting but yeah, I think you covered everything, Lauren.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, if you are interested in a copy of the presentation, you can download it here. It's going to take you to a Canva template link screen where you'll just click use template, and then it is yours to edit and share as you will. Just please, obviously pay attention to the Creative Commons licensing. And then just wanted to throw out a disclaimer real quick. There were lots and lots of third-party tools mentioned in this presentation. Please double check and verify with your technology departments that it's okay to use these tools in your district, and be very, very careful whenever you're creating any student accounts. I don't think any of the tools that I shared require student accounts. Pretty much all of these, when students access, they're accessing with a code that then brings them into your area of the tool that you're signed into. Brisk teaching may require students to sign in with Google. I'm not 100% sure. I have to check on that, but just double check with your technology departments before you jump in and use any of these tools with your students. So thank you so much for attending. I hope you found it valuable. I hope that you develop some workflows that you can find success with. If you want to get in touch with me, my email is here on the screen. And my friend who is obsessed with app scripting like I am, again, if you're willing, share those and I will add those to the end of this presentation so that everybody has access to them. So thank you for joining. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Stacy and I are going to hang out for a minute in case there are any questions that you might have. And we hope to see you back next Wednesday for our next round of sessions.